So I think we are here. Uh, so these are the case studies which we are discussing, right? So these all things we were seeing yesterday. So these all things we were seeing yesterday. So if you see here, this actually how the results it looks all the time. Real time monitoring is possible. These are the different sensors which are connected to the human body. So this is how it produce the data. If you see, okay. And next thing, these all things also we discussed. This yeah, I think we are here. Development of cloud framework. So here, health cloud framework. This is actually we are talking about the health cloud framework. The developed system is strictly privacy aware, patient identity masking, and next it involves the hashing and reverse hashing of patient ID and scalable architecture. So what happens here? This provides the high security for the patient's data. Okay, so this provides the high identity masking for the patient's data. So what happens, before the data is going to reach here, how development of cloud framework. Already we have cloud, but why we have to cloud provide? Because coming to this health data, this is very confidential, right? So what is this patient identity masking here? What happens, involves the hashing and reverse hashing of patient's ID. The patient's ID and the patient's data, everything is going to be encrypted before it is going to be stored in the cloud. Okay, so the person who is maintaining the cloud or anybody also cannot access the data. The authorized persons, when the data is reaching again to the authorized person, that time the data is going to be decrypted. Okay, so in the cloud also the data is not going to stored in the like original data is not going to be stored. The encrypted data is going to be stored, and that particular data is going to be decrypted because of this cloud framework. Okay, so this is how it is more secure, and we can access these things to these things by using the web interface. Okay, so this project, it has a web interface, web interface. For example, this particular project's web interface is Ambusense IIT KGP, like some. Okay, so that is a web interface. In that we can, so they have some different modules like paramedic, doctors, and medical history. We can check initialization and data streaming of the sensors, different sensors, and data visualization, so many things. Okay, so this is the system architecture. Okay, we have different, this system is connected with the different wireless body area networks. Okay, so the data can be stored to the cloud. If from different hospitals the data is going to be stored in the particular data, and the data can be accessed by using this web interfaces. Okay, so multiple hospitals data is going to be stored in this cloud. Okay, patients data. Okay, on the different virtual machines, there will be different virtual machine is created for the hospital, and the different hospital data is going to be stored in this particular architecture. Okay, guys, here if you see Ambusense implementation, this implementation that is not required. This slide, actually this is not required here. Okay, so here if you see, this is some of the trials of this particular, this is of this case study. Okay, so hospital system trials, these are the some of the trials, like so how actually it works when they did some trials, these are the outputs they got. Okay, this is just the case study we are talking on the healthcare monitoring and agriculture. So some of the case studies we are seeing. Okay, so what are the projects are developed and how they develop, those things we are going to study here. So in this, the project results or continuous like ECG ECG tracing from manual system. This is how exactly looks like real-time ECG tracing from this particular IoT related system. Okay, so this is the difference it looks like. Okay, so next we are talking about introduction to activity monitoring. We are going to talk now activity monitoring case study. This is the another case study. So we talk about that. So wearable sensors have become very popular for different purposes like medical, child care, elderly care, and entertainment, security. So these sensors help in monitoring the physical activities of human. Okay, particularly in IoT scenario, activity monitoring in the sense human daily activity. Okay, human daily activity, that monitoring plays an important role for providing better quality of life and safeguarding humans. Okay, next, provides information accurately in a reliable manner and provides continuous monitoring support. So if you see traditional architecture, so continuous monitoring on human body, so it is going to be reached on a data, some database, and the analyzer, the data analyzing these things gonna take place, and next the data is going to reach the particular user's desktop or laptop or mobile phone. Okay, so advantages of this day activity monitoring: continuous monitoring of activity results in daily observation of human behavior, easy integration, fast equipping, long-term monitoring and utilization of sensors of handheld devices like accelerometer, gyroscope, GPS and others. Okay, so these all things are the sensors. Okay, handheld, in the handheld devices, in the gyroscope we have in our mobile phones, like automatic brightness, it happens automatically, right? So that is the gyroscope. Using the gyroscope it is happening. Okay, and next, accelerometer we have, and next we have GPS, some different things we have. Next, other important human activities. What are the activities? For example, like actions like running, jumping, these things also we can monitor, and gesture, folding legs, moving hand, these all things also can be monitored. Okay, types of sensors, like for example we have activity tracker band, we have smartphones and camera. Okay, and next, data analysis tools. So for, I know, after tracking those things, if you want to perform some analysis, if you want to predict something from the data, we can use some tools. Okay, so to compare the data, that kind of data is some little bit difficult, so we can use some data analysis tools like statistical, machine learning, deep learning. Okay, and next, approaches: in place and network based. There are two kind of approaches: in place, on the device and power intensive and no network connection is required, and next, coming to this network based one. Okay, so on the device, in place in the sense, here on the device you can directly without internet, I can say. Okay, so on the device, itself you can calculate. Okay, sometimes even without internet also, some offline it works. Okay, through okay, so for some power intensive, just those power is required, that's it. So here, if you see network based, larger and processing intensive methods can be applied, group based analytics is possible, low power consumption. So guys, if you see, you are using feed band. Okay, the feed band, you just low power consuming, right? It is like you can charge it for more than 15 days, 20 days it comes, if you are continuously using. Okay, so this is a low power consumption, average to good network connection. So these are the things. Okay, these are the advantages of this kind of daily activity monitoring. Okay, so this is the thing. So these are the case studies. What are the things we can use? What are the things are going to happen, like in the healthcare and in the agriculture? What kind of sensors we can use? I already told you here types of sensors. Here we can use is a smartphone, activity tracker band, and the camera. Okay, and coming to this, we can use here medical, and in the child care and elderly care we can use here this kind of sensors. Okay, so here in the healthcare we can use different sensors for heart rate, and for heart rate you can use, and for BP levels, sugar levels, everything to monitor we can use different sensors. And these are the agriculture. Okay, so these are the case studies. These are the different three case studies which we have seen: agriculture and the healthcare, and next, activity monitoring. Okay, so we see the next topic here. We spoke about the case studies. Okay, so those things are fine. Next we see some of the things, or like yeah, so we talk about cloud computing. So case studies are over from the fifth module. So now we are going to talk about the topic cloud computing. Okay, we see how actually this cloud computing has started. Okay, this cloud computing. Before the cloud computing, we have different computings. Okay, like one is a cluster computing. Next we have grid computing, and we have utility computing. After cloud computing has came to picture. Next, if you see first cloud cluster computing, we have cluster. Actually what it means, suppose you take 100 of computers and you're giving connections with the LAN, and you're forming a network between the 100 computers. That is called as a cluster. Likewise, so many clusters will be there. Okay, so that is called as a, and on that particular cluster we are passing some data and we are processing the data. So that is a cluster computing. Heterogeneous computing, homogeneous computing nodes connected loosely or tightly working together, that is the cluster computing. Okay, here all same computing nodes. Okay, we are connecting all same computing nodes. So here if you see, next grid computing. After the cluster computing, grid computing concept started. In this heterogeneous computing nodes, like different computing nodes distributed over a wide area to
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Someone is waiting.
Somebody is waiting.
No, ma'am. I texted him.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so grid computing. If you see grid computing, heterogeneous computing nodes distributed over a wide area to perform very large tasks. Here, different computing nodes in the grid computing. In the cluster computing, same computers. Okay, so next utility computing. See, in the utility computing, you can understand utility means how much you are using. For that we have to pay. Suppose we can take water bill, we can take current bill, we can take so electricity bill. If you see how much you are using, for that you are paying. Okay, that is a utility computing. Okay, packaged resources available for computing and storage. Okay, so from this utility computing, actually this cloud computing concept has started. And is this cloud computing shared pool of configurable computing resources. It has a large number of computing resources, and the computing resources are provided on demand. Okay, so whenever you want to access, you can get more resources. Okay, so we see the so before we discussed what are the things are there before the computing, right? So we see some evaluation of cloud computing. If you take your normal system, okay, we are using now smartphones and we are using laptops. So but before, if you think the supercomputers, okay, the supercomputers, it actually occupies a room. So how much advancement came in the hardware. Okay, so that was occupying a room, but now you are just holding a laptop. So there is a different advancement in the hardware. Okay, so we see, so anything, any technology to start, there should be, in the hardware there is a different advancement involves, and in the internet has started and web has came, and next software, different operating systems has came. So everything in each and every part, if you take, there are different new technologies are coming, new advancements are coming. So those all things are helping to form a new technology. So anything starts with the advancements in different things. Okay, so we see here in 1950s time shared mainframe computers are there. After that, ARPANET has started, and next in the 1969 and in 1970s, virtual machines concept has started by IBM. Virtual machine in the sense, this is your physical machine. In your physical machine, you are creating other operating system. That not operating system, other machine you are starting. In that it will, like you see, if you have a hard disk, you purchased your laptop or system, and that system hard disk it has, right? So suppose it may be 1 terabyte. Okay, so you are dividing, you are partitioning that hard disk as a C drive, D drive, and E drive. Okay, so for the C drive you are allocating some memory, you are allocating some space, you are allocating some storage, you are allocating for E drive so you are allocating some different amount of space, right, for the each and everything. So but you are not partitioning your hard disk physically, you are not partitioning, you are making it virtually, right? That is a virtual concept. Virtual machine in the sense, here it exists, virtual machine that will have different operating system, and from some amount of storage from your PC is going to given for that. So that's a virtual machine. Next, in 1990s, expansion of the internet, inception of virtual private networks, and 1996 actually the cloud computing concept has started. So but it came existing with the Salesforce has started the cloud computing services first in 1999, and next 2002 Amazon Web Services has started, and next 2006 Amazon EC2 cloud came to existing, and next 2008 Google App Engine, Microsoft Azure, different cloud services came to picture. If you see here, so those are the history of the cloud computing, before cloud computing, and how what are the things are there, those things we have seen. Now if you see cloud computing is a model for enabling convenient on-demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources. So here it's a cloud computing, it provides on-demand network access to shared pool of configurable computing resources. What are the resources? On demand, it provides the resources like network infrastructure, servers, storage, applications. Okay, and this is a definition which is given by NIST. Okay, National Institute of Standards and Technology. Okay, so if you see this, so this is the cloud computing. Next, we see some of the NIST visual model of cloud computing. This is the visual model. So this is here we can see some of the characteristics, service models, deployment models. Okay, so these are the characteristics: broad network access, rapid elasticity, measured services, on-demand self-services, resource pooling. These are all the characteristics of cloud computing. These are all things we are going to discuss now. Okay, so here some services are there, cloud services. Cloud actually it provides the services in three ways, like software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. Okay, and the data which we are storing in the cloud. Okay, so the data and which we are storing, and the things which when in the Chrome you are getting some information, right? When you are typing some information, you are getting some information, right? So that you can get from different clouds, the data will be stored, like public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, and the community cloud. Okay, so we see the differences, what are these things. Okay, so next, what are the business advantages if you are going with the cloud? Okay, nearly zero cost for upfront infrastructure. You don't need to buy any infrastructure. Okay, so you want to store the data. So just see, we have only one PC. In that one PC, we have 1 terabyte of some space. We stored completely. That in companies, okay, they have large projects and everything. The data to store in systems, it's very difficult. So they have to maintain such storage rooms. So storage means how many hard disks they have to purchase. It is very difficult, and they need some people to maintain the data, and they have to provide some security. So those all things are very risk. So they go with the cloud. Okay, so they don't have any cost for infrastructure, right? So they don't need to purchase anything. So that someone else's server they can purchase. That's it. Some storage they can purchase in the particular cloud. So real-time infrastructure availability, more efficient resource utilization, usage-based costing, reduced time to market. Next is some general characteristics. These are improved agility, ubiquitous, and multi-tenancy, reliable, and next low cost and improved security. So these all things are possible with the cloud. And next we see some of the essential characteristics. Broad network access. The name itself you can understand. Broad network access in the sense cloud resources should be available over the network. So if those are available over the networks, you can access that that resources by using your mobile phone, desktop, laptop, anything, right? Anytime you can access. Just you can you need internet. That's it. So next, rapid elasticity. Cloud resource allocation should be rapid, elastic, and automatic. Here what happens, rapid elasticity in the sense, suppose you need urgent storage, like you want to increase the cost. Okay, so suppose your Gmail inbox is full. Okay, you want to increase the inbox size. You can increase, just you have to pay some amount, you can immediately increase it, right? So that is how the cloud services, instant services Okay, rapidly you can increase anything. But if you're manually you want to do something other than cloud, if you think if the things are not on internet, so manually you have to go some place and you have to ask them to increase these things, and you're depending on somebody. It is very difficult thing, right? So I think the cloud, whatever the services which are provided by the cloud are very faster than the things which we are doing manually. Okay, so we see, and next, measure service, how much you are extending. So for that you have to pay. How much storage you want to take, for that you have to pay. On demand self service. Okay, so on demand means when you just, whenever you want you can get the service. Okay, next, resource pooling. So resource pooling means the resources should be allotted according to you users demand. Okay, so the resources which you want, always there should be available, and according to your requirement the resources they have to provide. Next, we have some 6 components in the cloud computing. The components are clients, services, applications, platform, storage, and infrastructure. Okay, so each and everything is related. Okay, clients are going to get the services, and the services are going to be provided by the applications serves the services. Okay, and the services which used by the clients. Okay, and these applications are going to be developed by the platform. Okay, in the platform the applications are going to be developed, and the platform, what are the applications are developed, that can the data, everything can be stored in the storage. Okay, so the storage and everything can be provided through the infrastructure. Okay, so those all things are related. Next, we see some of the service models. Okay, some of the service models of cloud computing. So the services from the cloud can be provided in 3 ways, like software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. Okay, so in the software as a service, it facility to execute service providers applications at users, and applications are available as services. Like, this is nothing but readily available software. Okay, so from Play Store you are getting the applications, right? Those are readily available software, your Gmail, your Facebook. Okay, for example, here I can say Google Apps. Yeah, Google Apps and Salesforce, Line.com. These are readily available software. You are not developing. The developed thing we are using. Okay, and you are accessing the service like Play Store. From the Play Store, all the apps will be there, and you are installing, right? So that is a cloud service, software as a service. Okay, so next thing we have platform as a service. In this platform as a service, here you can create the applications, you can manage the applications, you can run the applications. Okay, some completely it supports for deployment of applications. Okay, so some of the examples for this: Windows, Azure. Okay, this is one of the platform as a service. And next, Google App Engine. Okay, this helps to develop applications. Next, we have infrastructure as a service. In this infrastructure as a service, here we have it provides the computing resources like network, storage, and operating system as an infrastructure. Okay, for example, here we have Amazon EC2, GoGrid, Island, and if you take Rackspace cloud servers, so these all things provides the resources like network, storage, and operating systems. Okay, so those are the different services. Software as a service is a readily available service. And next, platform, it helps to create and manage and develop the applications. Infrastructure, it provides the services like storage, network, and operating systems. Okay, I think you understood the differences. Next, we see deployment models. We have 3 types of deploy models, and basically there are 3 main, and others are community cloud, and the distributed cloud, and multi-cloud, and intercloud. Okay, public cloud means anybody can access to that particular cloud. Okay, private cloud, here you see CMR TC, we are from the website, we are accessing so many information that is only accessible from our organization people, that is not accessible by everyone. Okay, there is no so that is on premises, right? That is on premises. Public cloud, in the sense anybody can access. Okay, so next, hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud is a combination of private and the public cloud. If you are coming to this place, sometimes this public cloud services you can extend, like by it provides the pay-per-use. Okay, so some subscription base. Okay, some extent they will provide you the free things, and if you want to use it more, like how much you are paying per that, you have to access. So likewise, there will be different things in the public cloud. Okay, so here I can say one thing, this services anybody can use. Okay, so next thing, private cloud. This is, I told you, this is going to be organized by a single organization. This will be belongs to a single organization, and it is maintained by the organization itself. So here if you see the differences, virtualized resources in the public cloud, publicly shared, but here privately shared. Customer types, multiple customers will be there. Here the private cloud, limited customers will be there. And connectivity, you can connect over internet. Both the things you can connect over internet. Coming to the government officials, some things can be connected private network they use. Okay, now that comes under government officials, very critical data. Okay, so next thing, security, because here anybody is accessing, so the public cloud security is low, private cloud security is high. Hybrid cloud. Okay, so it has both the functionalities of private cloud and hybrid cloud. Okay, sorry, private cloud and the public cloud. Okay, so other types of clouds, if you say take community cloud, in the community cloud what happens, here sometimes what happens, all the companies, some multiple companies involved in a project. Okay, suppose one client is there, the client want to work. Okay, so the client want to work on some project, client's project is there, so some company develops something and other company they are using, so for that client different companies may work. Okay, the client may be involved with the different companies, so different companies are providing their services for the client. So those all things can be involved in the community cloud. That cloud is going to be maintained by any of the company, any one of the company. Otherwise, the cloud provider is going to handle that particular cloud. Okay, and next to distributed cloud. Here, distributed cloud in the sense the collection of scattered set of computing devices in different locations. Okay. So next thing, multi-cloud and the inter-cloud. Inter-cloud in the sense in cloud inside the cloud, cloud of clouds. Okay, so that is the inter-cloud, and the multi-cloud is the computing services offered through a single heterogeneous architecture, and it helps to increase the fault tolerance and the flexibility. And this is a comparison of different deployment models. So private cloud on premises, it has a dedicated access, and off premises hosted private cloud. Okay, on premises it is a community cloud, and the off premises public cloud. Okay, so we now just talk, before we completed the service models, so we see now, we completed this different types of cloud and different things like what is cloud, everything we discussed, right? So we are going to see the service models more into. Okay, so next we see the service models, the three things we have: platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service, and next we have software as a service, right? So these three things we discussed now. The comparison of these different service models, if you see this infrastructure as a service, it has a virtualization, server, storage, networking, and applications, data runtime, and this has a application data and like runtime, middleware, OS. And it's software as a service, it has the things like application data, runtime, middleware, visualization. So some minimum difference is there. Okay, just a minute. So now we are at infrastructure as a service. In this, I told you, here we get the infrastructures like network access, storage, and operating systems as a service. Okay, so we see here, so this is just a one definition. Infrastructure as a service, abbreviated as IaaS, contains the basic building blocks for cloud IT and typically provide access to networking features, computers, and the data storage spaces. Okay, so I said in a shortcut, and it is a definition. Okay, so next, working methodology of this particular, we see the IaaS working methodology. The user runs servers, software, or data center space of network equipment. Cloud service provider offers resource management and outsourced service on demand model. Okay, so this is the network methodology. First, what happens, the user is going to rent the server and the networks and the operating systems from the infrastructure as a service which is provided by the cloud provider. Okay, so why this IaaS? Because new business can operate without investing on computer hardware. You can understand this because we know what actually it is. Scalable for rapidly growing businesses and suitable for serving fluctuating computing demands, and next suitable for new business and helps in minimizing the capital expenses. And see with the they see the some essential characteristics of the scalability and elasticity, dynamic scaling of required infrastructure resources, large amount of resource allocation, no variation in system performance, scalability, elasticity, the two words you understand. Inbox is full, I told you. So if you want to increase, you can increase. So suppose you increase to 25 GB, okay? So but you're using only 20 GB and the 5 GB you're not using. So you can scale down. Okay, you want to use 25 GB, you can scale up to 25 GB. You don't want to use, you purchased, but now later on you don't want to use. So then you can scale down your usage. Okay, and elasticity, like the cloud storage, it has elasticity, means you can increase the storage. Okay, next, manageability and interoperability. Clients have total control of the virtualized infrastructure resources. Okay, they can manage and pre-configured facility for allocation of virtualized resources, and these resources are going to be monitored for the running status. And next, usage and billing systems records the use of infrastructure resources, accordingly calculate payment. So the managing and the interoperability is easy here. Okay, so next, availability and reliability. So whenever you want to access the data, so whenever you want to open your Gmail, you can open, just you need internet, that's it. You need internet and the mobile or desktop. Okay, so that's it. But you can, if you are ready with those things, you can access anytime. Okay, the service is readily available. Okay, you can, and that is reliable. Okay, and next thing, the performance and optimization. Okay, high utilization of physical resources among different clients. Okay, and to enable high computing power with the large pool of physical resources using parallel processing. Okay, and up to optimize the deployment of physical resources by dynamic configuration of virtual infrastructure resources. Here the performance and optimization is increases if you are going with the cloud. Okay, because depends how much you're paying, for that you're getting the service. So the performance and optimization we can expect from the cloud provider. Okay, accessibility and portability. Okay, accessibility and the portability. Accessibility, here whenever you want to access the tools you can access, and you can access portability in the sense from any device you can access, and you can control, and from wherever you want, you like any location you can access the services. Okay, so we see the next thing. IaaS can be obtained as a public cloud and the private cloud and the hybrid cloud. From any cloud, like from any cloud we can access this service. Okay, so next thing, we have some challenges and the limitations of this. Sometimes the regulatory approval doesn't allow outsourcing the storage and the processing of sensitive data like medical records and network latency. So those things are some of the challenges and the limitations. Okay, so next thing, users may require automated decision making, and next, seamless scaling, and so low level system details. Okay, so anything will have some challenges and limitations, so it is also having some limitations. So platform as a service. In the platform as a service, here I told you, here you can create, you can manage, and you can run your applications. Okay, so if you see, it facilitates the development and managing applications, and next allows the customer to rent virtualized servers, and it allows for the elastic scaling of the users deployed applications. Okay, next we see the features of this one. PaaS, what are the things it offers in the PaaS? So operating system, server side scripting, it provides database management system, server software supports, and next, storage, network access, tools for design and development, hosting. So these all things are provided. Next, business advantages of this PaaS. Okay, facility for accessing key middleware services without worrying about the underlying complexities of managing And next, ease of access for the development and deployment tools. You don't need to install any development tools for in developing any application. Okay. And next, you don't need to manage after you develop, freedom from managing development and deployment tools individually. So if you see software as a service, so here this is a readily available service. Okay, pay as you go. Sometimes, if you want to purchase some software, you can purchase it. Like some softwares may be freely available, readily available. Some softwares you to use that readily available softwares, in the sense, sometimes some guys, wait, go. So readily available softwares, in the sense, sometimes you will purchase some like operating system, Microsoft operating system, that is readily available, that one you are purchasing and you are using. So many things will be there. Okay, so sometimes you're just installing some apps, like some different applications, your Google applications you are installing from the Play Store. So those things. Okay. Next, the SaaS, it remote access of software through internet, where web browser acts as a thin client. Through web browser you can access the services. And example, you can nowadays, like, all the things are coming as applications, right? So those things you can install from the Play Store. Okay, so facility for access, and through web browser you are installing, right? So if you want to work, like suppose I'm using Python, I'm working with the PyCharm. Okay, some things I'm using. Okay, so I can install, I can download. And if you are working with the C++, Java, you can download through web browser. So that is what I'm talking here. Okay, so next we talk advantages of this SaaS. Customers uses over the internet, runs on multiple customers simultaneously, and no concerns for cross-platform support, more frequent updates for enhanced user satisfaction. Here, updates, WhatsApp service you have. Okay, so updates, you are not doing any updates. The software updates, when it is ready, it will inform you that you have updates. Just you have to click on update, that will be updated. But in the traditional software, what happens? Less frequent version updates. Okay, purchased separately. Okay, so these are the differences. SaaS architecture, if you see, scalability, multi-tenancy, and configurability. So these are the some of the things. Scalability, like to maximize applications concurrency, you can scalable. Multi-tenancy, here, so multiple users can use the service. And configurability, the configurability is also easy. Okay, you are not going to do anything manually, just you can one click, like you can install. So some things, it is easy because that is readily available. Limitations of these things, we see centralized control. Okay, Gmail you are using, that control is not in your hands, that has a centralized control. Okay, that is controlled by somebody else. Okay, switching cost and limited flexibility and data security and privacy. Okay, those are the limitations of SaaS. Now we are going to talk about service management and security in the cloud. Okay, in the service management and security, actually it deals with the world of cloud computing and the service management, ensuring optimal performance and efficiency in on-demand and virtual environments. It aims to provide equal importance to desired outcomes of customers, management of services at no cost and risk. So if you see here, objectives of this: to provide standard services, clear and complete description of services, usage monitoring and billing, high availability of networks and connectivity, and ease of access, and portals for service selection, and rapid fulfillment, service guarantees, next, service computing. So these are the objectives behind this service management and security. Okay, so guys, here, any service, we are purchasing some, companies are purchasing some storage from the particular cloud. Okay, so they will have some service level agreement. Okay, so it defines the non-functional requirements expected from the service provider, like it provides a roadmap and it describes about the quality, utility, warranty. Okay, so we can understand in the service level agreement what are the things can be mentioned. Okay, and next, accounting and billing. Okay, so service accounting, billing, so these all things comes under this. Okay, so service aims to obtain service accounting, it aims to obtain resource usage information, and billing, like how much we used, for that is going to be charged. Next, you're comparing scaling hardware like traditional versus cloud. Traditional data centers, heterogeneous hardware will be there, networked computing and the remote server. Coming to the cloud computing, it is a off premises, okay, virtual hosting solution, and heterogeneous hardware and software and networks are there on the cloud. Okay, major differences include resilience and elasticity, flexibility and the scalability, automation, running cost, and the security from the traditional to cloud. Okay, so next, economics of scaling, benefiting enormously. Like if you see, economics depends on the four custom population metrics. Like economics of scaling, like we are going to, you know, like see how much the scaling cost will be, how we are going to see how we can do this economics, like by taking the number of unique customer sites, duty cycles of customer sites, and relative displacement duty cycle load customer sites. So these all things from the cloud provider side. Okay, the service management and security, it's a responsibility of cloud provider. Okay, economic incentives, lower cost. So these all things are involved in the economics of scaling. CapEx free computing and deploy projects faster, scale as needed, and lower maintenance and resilience and redundancy. And next we see the management in the data in cloud. Okay, so steps involved in database manager, define the type of application, and next determine how suitable these applications for the public or private cloud. So how they can, so that this data I want to store in the private cloud, public cloud, they are going to determine the particular applications. Okay, so based upon that they are going to choose the things. Like you want to say that you want to store in that particular thing, it's not like they are going to determine the applications. Okay, managing the data, these all things can be taken care by the cloud providers. Database as a service, Microsoft Azure or SQL databases they use, and they use Amazon Web Services maybe, and DynamoDB. So these are the some of the things, databases, some of the databases, Google Cloud SQL, and Google App Engine, ClearDB, database.com. Okay, and next thing, cloud security. We are talking now in the cloud security. Actually, what is the problem here? User losses control of information available on public cloud. So security concerns here, loss of data, account seizing, service traffic, and vulnerable APIs. Okay, solution is to protect from theft, leakage, and deletion by providing secure policies. And if you see infrastructure security, security of cloud infrastructure must be implicitly assured for public or private cloud. And next, building levels for viewing and evaluating and executing infrastructure security are. So how we can build the levels of security? So we can build levels of security at network level and host level and the application level. Okay, so in the network level security, we can provide the security at the public clouds, and next we can achieve the confidentiality and integrity of data in transit to and from the cloud service provided at the network level, and availability of internet resources correctly to genuine. These all things we can take care at the network level. Okay, coming to the host level, what are the things we can perform, how the way we can provide the security at the host level, host security at platform as a service and the software as a service level, hide the host operating system from end users, and security responsibilities are transferred to cloud service, and security at the infrastructure as a level. What happens here? Primary objective is to secure all the allocated host. Okay, for example, blue pill attack on hypervisor. Okay, blue pill attack on hypervisor. Hypervisor in the sense, you know, I told you, like the data, see, hard disk you partition. Okay, that's fine. But here in the data centers, they have to partition the data, right? The hard storage, they have to partition. To do that, and they have to divide one system as a different systems. To do that, they need a software called hypervisor. This helps to do such things. Okay, they are going to insert this particular software that is called as a hypervisor, then it divides the systems as a virtual machines. Okay, so that is what. Next, application level security. Both application level security, customers are responsible for security at application level. Okay, So data security, the main objectives of this data security is to provide the confidentiality, integrity, and the availability. So how we can do these things on the data? So the solution is to use the identity management and the encryption and access control. Identity management in the sense, for your Gmail, what you have, like you have authentication ID, all right? So that is the username and the password. Okay, so that is the identity and the access management. Okay, so this user identities and access permissions are instigated, caught and administered and recorded by IAM. Okay, so your user ID and your password will be in the Google's database. Okay, so whenever you are entering your ID and the password, then it is going to check and then it will give you your account information, right? So that is the IAM. Actually, authentication and authorization and evaluation of users are done according to the terms and conditions and the roles of users. Okay, so features of this identity management and access. So single access control interface, it has increased security, access control over resource level, and improvement of operational efficiency. So these all the things, different features. And access control, again, this is one of the things to provide the confidentiality, integrity on the data. Okay, this is the access control. Actually, it has a layers in the cloud access, the server access, and we have, so it in each and every level we have to give access to cloud and the server, to the service, to the database, and to the virtual machines, and to the objects within the virtual machine. Okay, so each and every stage we have to provide some access. Okay, access, different access layers should be there. Okay, so then the data will be secure. Okay, so next thing, so trust and reputation. So how we can go to some particular cloud? Okay, so it depends on the trust and reputation of the cloud. If it is very famous, very popular, so then you go to that, right? Trust, independent expectancy between two entities for any specific context at a given time. Next, coming to this reputation, belief of an entity standing by the community. These concepts are needed by the customer to select appropriate cloud provider. Okay, so two concepts, one is the trust and the reputation. Don't go much into that, just understand trust and reputation you will see on the particular cloud to choose. Okay, next thing, different modes of trust establishment include. Okay, so how the cloud provider can build the trust. Okay, so he can build the trust like accomplishment of service level agreement. Okay, by reading the terms and conditions you will accept, right? If they are providing some good things which you like, then you will accept it. And next, application of audit standards, measuring ratings and questionnaires for self-assessment. So these all things they have to do. Okay, to make the customer to trust the service. Categorization of different assessment methodologies, formal versus informal procedures. These are the risk assessment. These all things can be taken care by those people, cloud providers. Consequences versus cause analysis. So these all things they have to analyze. Okay, risk assessment, inductive versus deductive techniques. So these all things. Next, user authentication. Coming to the user authentication, what, when, where, consequence. These all things they have to see. Like what user authentication process between the new users and service providers. So these all things has to check. Because whenever you are entering some data in that, already it has taken some data. If you are entering some user ID, if you are creating some new login, so already it has taken. So this all things you have to give, like, so during the authentication, the properties and safety of process can be invaded by attack causing severe damages. User authentication is done at platform as a service layer, and the consequences, threat to authentication process can lead to divulge of confidential data to fake user. So these are the different things. So now we see some of the case studies. Okay, so these are the security and the risk assessment, trust, the reputation of the cloud. So many things we discussed, right? So now this is not much important. Just we see. I'll just go through those things. Like these are some of the case studies. Like we want to check the performance, and the cloud providers itself, they want to check the performance of their cloud. Some things they can use simulation tools. Okay, simulation tools helps to check the performance of the for performance evaluation we use this kind of tools. Okay, so these simulators facilitate pre-deployment test of services. Okay, so because as the demand of cloud computing is growing every day, the simulators and the technologies are needed to be studied. Okay, so what are the simulators and all we have? We can see cloud simulators allow customers to evaluate the services, testing at no cost, enable repeatable evaluation, control the environment. So next, pre-detection design of customer measures. And we see the simulators. What are the simulators we have? Through that we can check the performance, like cloud sim, cloud analyst, and the green cloud, icon cloud, and the ground sim. And next we have DC sim. These are the different simulators in the cloud. Like cloud sim, if you take, it's a simulation framework actually. Okay, this is written in Java based environment. Tools also written in different programming languages, right? So this is different, written in Java based environment. And next, allows to examine the performance of application services. So we see here, this is the advantages of cloud sim: time effectiveness. So cloud based application implementation, minimum time and minimum effort, flexibility and applicability, support for diverse and the cloud environments, and enables a modeling of application services in any environment. Okay, so if you see the next thing, this is the cloud sim architecture. It has a 3 layers: topmost layer, middle layer, and the bottommost layer. This topmost layer name is a user core, middle layer is a cloud sim, and the bottommost layer is the core simulation engine. Okay, so these all things you just no need to write in the exam. This is for sake of understanding. That's it. Guys, 1 minute. I just door close. That's okay. Fine. Okay, so we see here. So this presents different machine and application specifications. So just you understand only one thing: this has a different features and it has some layers in this: user code, cloud sim, and core simulation. This performs the bottommost layer. It handles the event scheduling, entity creation, and the middle one, it provides the cloud environment. And next, topmost layer, it presents different machine and application specifications. So different things it handles. And if you see the top layer, this is how it looks like. The basic entities in this are users, physical machines, virtual machines, applications and services. And in this middle layer, it helps in solving issues like host, provision to VMs. Any problems are there, we can use this kind of tools to handle the cloud related problems. Okay, so creation and simulation of dedicated management interfaces, and it allows a cloud service provider to implement and customize strategies. Okay, so cloud sim architecture, if you see this architecture, we have different things like virtual management and virtual provisioning and bandwidth allocation. So different things. This is how exactly this cloud sim looks like. Okay, these three layers are combined here. Okay, so next thing, cloud analyst. This is again another simulation tool. It provides the graphical user interface, supports geographically distributed large scale cloud applications, and the purpose is to study the behavior of applications under various deployment configurations. And features of cloud analyst. So if you take the features of cloud analyst, easy to use due to graphical user interface, high level of configurability, flexibility of adding components, repeatability of experiments. So different things. Okay, so cloud analyst design. If you take, there are some different components in this particular tool. GUI package, it has simulation, user base, some internet characteristics, some different things it has. And we talk about green cloud. Green cloud, actually it works on the energy consumption of servers. Okay, so this is going to monitor the energy consumption. Okay, so the computing, by this green cloud, the computing capacity has increased the cost and the operational expenses. of data centers. Energy consumption by data centers is a major factor driving the operational expenses. Okay, so that is the reason, if you want to check, always monitor this energy consumptions, we can use the green cloud. And the features of this green cloud, it has open source and supports simulation of cloud network and supports monitoring, enables improved power management schemes. So we have again open source and commercial clouds. We just differentiate those things. We have open source clouds like OpenStack, CloudStack, Eucalyptus. Okay, and commercial clouds like we have Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Google App Engine. Okay, so mostly these things offers infrastructure as a service, the open sources, and those are implemented by user, and these can be private or it can be on premise. Okay, if you are going with this commercial clouds, so this provides the infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, different things. Okay, on subscription base and implemented by service providers, these things. And this can be public, off premise, and hosted private. Okay, OpenStack, if you see OpenStack, it's a collection of open source technology. This is the open source cloud actually. OpenStack, that name is the OpenStack. Okay, so managed by OpenStack Foundation, supports vastly scalable cloud system, and so provides a platform to create software applications, and developed software applications can be used by the end users in this. Okay, so these are the some of the components of this compute, networking, block storage, some of the components of OpenStack. And it has a different features, allows users to create and allows users to set up cloud management, supports easy horizontal scaling, and open source software. Okay, so we are talking about one of the commercial cloud, that is a Microsoft Azure. It is previously Windows Azure. First the starting name was Windows Azure, later they changed it to Microsoft Azure. Okay, it supports IaaS at the PaaS, platform as a service. Okay, and it's many programming languages it supports, and different frameworks are supported by this. And next thing, these are the different services which are provided by this: compute, mobile services, storage services, data management, messaging. Next thing, here Azure as a platform as a service, it provides a platform to develop and deploy the software, and clients here just focus on the application development rather than worry about the hardware and the infrastructure. Okay, so here again, Azure as an infrastructure as a service, it offers total control of the operating system and application stack, features to access and manage and monitor the data centers. Okay, it is ideal for the application where the complete control is required. Okay, next thing, we are talking about another cloud, that is Amazon's Elastic Compute Cloud, that is EC2. Okay, a web service for users to launch and manage service instances in Amazon's data centers, and it provides the various APIs and tools and utilities. And it is a pay-per-use billing. Okay, how much you are using, for that you have to pay. Okay, so it has a instances in the sense, this is a cloud. Instances means, there are, just suppose in the data center there are hundreds of systems. In that hundreds of systems are going to be I told you that the hard disk, you have only one hard disk, but you are partitioning into C drive, D drive, and E drive. So different names you have given and different spaces you allotted. That is from only one particular hard disk. So likewise, one system is going to be divided into different systems with the some different operating system with the different operating system, and some of the storage hard disk is going to be shared, some different things. Okay, so that is the thing, like virtual machine is called as an instance, I can say. Okay, so virtual computing environments, it provides instance templates of different configurations, like it will be shared CPU, memory, storage, networking capacity, all these things can be shared to that particular instance in the sense virtual machine. Okay, so instances types, this can be for general purpose, it can be general purpose, and it can be compute optimized, memory optimized, accelerated computing instances. Different instances can be created in the EC2. Okay, so features of this EC2, it provides the operating system, persistent storage, and automated scale. Okay, so we see here features of Amazon EC2. So it has different features like firewall rules, elastic IP address, Amazon CloudWatch, and enhanced security, and it provides the virtual private clouds. Okay, so these are the different features of this Amazon EC2. Okay, so this is the thing. Okay, guys, I think all of you listening. So we discussed about the public cloud now. Okay, so we see next